It can only be attributable to human error.
You're entering paranormal.
He meddled in things that you think before. He meddled in
Slug.
things. He meddled in things.
Where will we go next? It's a phantom from another time.
No one, Mr. Muller.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
That is one big pile of shit.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex Kaiju. To my left,
Jasmine with
and across from us,
Eli Watson.
and we are
Cryptid Campfire. And we have been abducted. We are on an alien spaceship.
Yeah.
We've been stuck here for 3 weeks and we are all out of coffee.
Oh no, last time I remember, we got to the top of Bigfoot Mountain, met the big man himself, asked the hard quitting questions, and then we were in the space for a while.
Yeah, but before we got taken from the peak of the mountain, we met a new friend.
We did.
Bing, bing, bing. His name is...
Stephen Myers, yeah!
Everybody welcome Stefan to Cryptid Campfire.
Thank you. Sorry we're out of coffee.
You're fired.
Stefan is the official fourth member of the Cryptid Campfire podcast crew.
Mm-hmm.
So very
But-
happy to be here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, of course. Being abducted is pretty tight.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey. So
Good team building.
the reason that we're actually doing this, the reason that we introduced a fourth member is one, because he was interested. He came to Eli and said he'd like to be a part of it. And two,
If I
as-
recall, we ran into him on top of the mountain.
This strange man we've never met before. On top of Bigfoot Mountain
I
by
have no
himself.
idea who this is.
but the second reason being, I've talked about before about how my main career goal in life is to be an actor, and I recently enrolled at an acting class.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it takes up
step.
a lot of my time, so I kind of brought up, when we were finishing up Bigfoot Mountain, I brought up to the guys if it would be possible to kind of either start recording less episodes or maybe every other week instead of every week. And then Eli was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to introduce Stefan. So Stefan and I are going to be kind of on a rotating schedule every other week. Today, for the first episode, it's all four of us so that you can get to know Stefan and we can open it up.
Yeah. If you followed us from the last episode, I think we met Stefan for 32.5 seconds, and then we got abducted by aliens.
Yeah, it's a little tad
So we
bit.
got a little time to sit, chat, get to know this lovable fella over here, as we are in the middle of a big giant spaceship hurling through space.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we
Well-
got a reception too. It wasn't easy. It took 3 weeks. But
Yep.
We hijacked the mainframe.
Yep.
Got one of
Made
the
it happen.
airways.
We just said the magical words, live, laugh, love.
Had to do it to him.
So, yes, aliens. That is
Yeah.
our
Aliens,
theme
aliens.
for the next few weeks.
It's gonna get
12
wild.
weeks.
Yeah.
to
Big
be
deal.
specific.
It's a big
Yeah.
deal.
It's gonna
That's-
get wacky.
Get ready for the next 3 months of your life, guys. So, we've already been here for almost a month.
On the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 4 months out of the years, guys.
Like, dude.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to let us go at the end of 12, so we'll see.
Brace for the worst, I guess.
Crazy vacation.
So, I kind of wanted to start this off just by asking what you guys think of when you hear the word alien. Like, what's the first thing that pops into your mind?
That guy with the crazy hair with the hands up, he's like aliens.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
old Tsoukalos.
Yeah.
He's on the loose.
He was
Yeah,
I do
okay.
not know what's happening.
All right. No, I think of the Martian from Looney Tunes.
Marvin the Martian.
Oh, okay.
Got
Yeah.
that weird ass Roman helmet.
Yeah.
That but it looks cool.
Yeah.
Whoever thought of that was a genius.
With Duck Dodgers of the 24th and a half century.
Yep.
What about you? What do you think when you think aliens?
Oh, man, I just think Area 51.
Hmm.
Oh?
True.
Think-
Naruto running straight into glory?
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Jess? What do you think when you
Well,
hear alien?
Aside from the usual, I think of lights in the sky and, little green or gray people with big black eyes, but I also think of the Spice Girls because they have their
Oh,
movie
Interesting.
Spice World. There's this whole part in the movie where they have an encounter with aliens. But
yes,
also
they do.
they do.
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
No.
That's funny.
Maybe we should watch that
Yeah,
for the
we
pod.
should.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
well, we're watching Spice World today. Come on.
But I also do think about how genuinely afraid I used to be of being abducted by an alien when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
It was a true fear that I had that was kind of placed into my brain because of a movie I watched,
Yeah.
which we will talk about later in this series.
You know,
Ooh.
that reminds me of something. Can I bring it up?
Yes.
I don't know
It's
what it
a
is.
personal experience.
Uh-oh.
Please.
No, because I grew up in Temecula, California, as I have mentioned before,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no real alien activity going on out there, but my brother and sister saw a UFO out there, and there's this hill that people say, sometimes there's this shiny light on top of the hill, and sometimes it's not there,
Mm-hmm.
so everyone said that it was a UFO, just kind of joking.
Yeah.
But me and my brother shared a room back in the day, and you know, he would be asleep, but I would hear this weird like humming noise, like and it would like start far away, and then it would just hover directly above
Shut
the
up.
room. I'm not kidding,
Oh.
because
Oh my
I
God.
completely forgot about it until about a year ago, when my brother brought it up, and he was like. I forget exactly what he said to my sister, but he's like, yeah, dude, that's when the aliens come. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, that weird humming noise. It just, like, starts far away and ends up, like, on top of the room and then goes away. I was like, you hear that, too? I thought I was the only one. And so, like,
Whoa.
I don't know if it's a UFO just hovering above our house
Whoa.
or what.
How long ago was that?
That was back in high school, so maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And then my brother brought it up again last year. So,
That's crazy.
I also think I've been abducted by aliens.
Yeah?
Can I tell you that?
Hold
story?
on a second. What?
Whoa.
This is
Been
news
keeping
to
secrets.
me.
Yeah. What's
Okay.
going on?
This is news
All right.
to me.
All
I
right.
think the whole
Wait.
layout for this first episode just changed.
We went in with a loose outline of aliens.
Yeah. Throw all the
question
notes
mark.
away.
Here we go.
Yeah, notes are out the window at
Yeah,
this point.
They're
Okay.
flowing past Jupiter into
Eli,
the
take it
asteroid
over.
field.
I'm sorry. I have to share this.
Okay,
So
go.
I went to visit my family in Kentucky, okay?
Okay.
And this is, there's things I have to explain. So first of all, my father used to sleepwalk when he was a kid. My sister sleepwalks pretty bad, but I have never had a case of sleepwalking. I have never sleepwalked.
Mhm.
From what I understand, not that anybody has witnessed. So, like the entire life growing up, I lived with my parents. There's no record of me sleepwalking.
Mm.
Okay? We go to Kentucky. The first night, we try this thing. They call it, it's some weird soda that I really didn't like. Tastes like some weird knockoff of Sprite.
Do they call it
squirt?
pop?
No, it's not called pop.
Is
They-
it squirt?
It's like, they call it swamp gas or something
Oh,
like that.
That's
gross.
Really
They-
obscure.
But that's
you-
not what it's
you,
called.
You drank swamp water.
So,
Nasty.
So when you were in Kentucky, did they take you to the finest eating establishment ever?
no.
KFC.
No.
That's like
But-
that's like the Ritz out there, right?
Exactly.
Anyways,
Now I
but
want chicken.
Got one
this
in
is
every
the-
corner.
This is the story again, because I was sharing a room with my brother in the basement, okay? Because they have those things over there in Kentucky, not here in California.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but
Basement
okay,
does a
so
lot of good out here.
we're in the basement, and it was really cold. It was like snowing when we went, I
Mhm.
think, or like almost gonna snow. So it was really cold, like 20, 30 degrees. So I went to bed fully clothed. And I wake up around 3 in the morning because the TV is blaring. Keep in mind, there is no TV in this room.
Whoa.
So when I open my eyes, I'm on the couch in the living room with Ancient Aliens on, and I'm wearing just underwear and socks with no memory of how I got there.
Dang.
Interesting.
Dude.
That swamp water
That's cool.
had some whiskey
So
in it.
I don't
huh?
know. There's definitely a reasonable explanation. I could have sleepwalked
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
very first
Yeah.
time.
For sure.
Could have been that weird soda.
Or
There's a lot of coincidences in
Yeah.
that
Have
story,
you had
though.
that soda
Yeah.
since?
Nope.
And there's a lot of things that are
Interesting.
relevant to the common themes and tropes that we're going to talk about
Yeah,
in this
exactly.
episode
Yeah.
about what happens when
And-
someone's abducted.
Yeah.
you know it's real crazy.
Oh
What?
God, this is a joke coming.
Well, we talk about, there's we're gonna get into it, but there's a theory that aliens aren't from space; they're from different dimensions. We talk about window
Window
fallers.
fallers.
Yeah.
We talk about that. They could be tourists from other dimensions.
hmm
They could be pranksters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You got
Hopefully-
pranked
You
hard
did, you
because
did.
they were like, he's on the couch in his underwear with Ancient Aliens playing on the TV.
It's a great setup.
And they even gave you like a tramp stamp with like a
Oh my
UFO
God.
or something.
If that doesn't freak him out, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
So I actually found a poll. The most recent poll I could find about Americans' belief in aliens was conducted by Insider in July of this year, 2019. They asked over 1,000 Americans which unproven theories and paranormal phenomena they find to be credible, and 20% of those polled believed that extraterrestrials have visited Earth. But
20%?
yeah, I will say this data is all over the place depending on who does the poll and how big of a sample size they have, because in 2018 a poll was conducted by The Economist and YouGov and found that 35% of US adults think aliens have landed on Earth. 20th Century Fox also conducted an extensive survey when they were promoting the release of Phoenix Forgotten.
Not Alien?
This was in
Covenant?
2017.
Alien Covenant.
And at that point, nearly half of Americans believed that aliens have visited Earth.
What year was this? 2019?
2017 was the Phoenix Forgotten poll.
Oh, and that was 50, you said?
50%, yeah.
Ooh.
Literally, like, you can look up any source on Google, and it's all different numbers.
Yeah.
Like, it's never consistent.
Yeah.
And the sample sizes aren't even usually that big. It's only, like, 1,000 people polled. And I'm like, it depends on who you're pulling from.
And what's the question, how they're asking it? Because I
Yeah.
feel like if you ask someone if they believe in alien life,
A lot of
most
people
are
will
going to
say
say
yes.
Yeah.
But how many believe that UFOs
Yeah.
are visiting the Earth, abducting people? Not very many.
There was an interesting detail that was in one of the articles I read talking about, so those people who are aged 60 and over, aka people who came of age in the years after Roswell, were more likely to believe. So they're the largest group of people who believe. And then that's followed by millennials, and then that's followed by millennials and Gen Zs. So as you get younger, apparently the belief is less, but again, it's all over the place.
It's
rock
cool
solid
to not
for him.
believe.
It's cool to not believe.
Find these
You ever seen the
man.
X-Files, kid?
Oh, what?
Just kidding.
I don't know though. There's a lot of alien like fashion out there.
Yeah.
Aliens on the
I know.
T-shirt, aliens on the
Aliens are
hats.
cool, man.
Yeah, aliens are cool, and everyone watch X-Files.
I just remembered there was a sorry.
Oh, no worries. I was
I-
going to say, just watch X-Files. It's really cool.
That's
I
it.
just remembered there was an alien like theme with Lisa Frank.
Yeah.
Oh,
Eli,
yeah.
you might be too young to know about this.
Lisa Frank is dope.
Lisa Frank is dope,
it
and they
was
had
like-
an alien. They had
it
these
was-
two little aliens in the car, and they would hold up the peace sign.
It was acid
forgot
art
about
for
that.
like 7th graders.
It was. It really was.
It was just like the most insane, like Technicolor, like
School supplies.
school
Yeah.
supplies, but it was like usually it was like ponies, kitties, dogs that were done like super cutesy, but with, like insane Technicolor, like rainbow everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But then she did like psychedelic, like aliens and stuff.
Oh yeah, Stefan just pulled up the picture.
Whoa.
Yeah.
dude.
That was on
It-
like
good stuff.
notebooks.
Yeah,
That's going on.
4th,
there.
5th
Yeah,
grade.
look at that one.
That's like
That's legit
that's
right
what
there.
the kids were rocking, man.
But it's very colorful, yeah.
You had that going with your Pokemon cards, your
Oh, yeah.
Digimon, little
Got your
virtual
Yu-Gi-Ohs in
pet,
there
your
somewhere.
Yu-Gi-Ohs, your Tamagotchi, your Game Boy Color.
Tamagotchis.
Beyblades mixed in somewhere.
Yeah, I
around
got
there.
your Jinko pants, jeans on. You're rocking like it's 1999. The world's gonna end once it hits 2000.
Y2K.
Nah, I was a weird child. I was busy watching Revenge of the Sixth for the 600th time.
Yeah.
I have the high ground.
So, our focus today, obviously aliens, but more
Yeah.
specifically abductions. And Eli has shared with us his story of supposed abduction.
Yeah.
So where do you guys want to start with this? Do you want to talk about the hills, or do you want to talk about common themes and tropes first? Because I think a lot of the common themes and tropes come from
Well,
the
I
hills
got this.
story.
What
I
you-
got this here.
What you got?
I got some bullet points here.
Ooh.
Okay.
So little labels created,
Hmm?
and I didn't get who made these up. So forgive me for my incomplete research, but I'm going for it.
That's all right.
So we have step 1, capture.
Okay, this is the
Is this-
narrative of abduction phenomenon,
One,
and then it comes from Thomas E. Bullard, who is a UFO researcher. Yeah, and he comes up with these
'Kay.
steps that you're about to give
do
us.
you have all the steps?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
Yeah,
steps?
because I skipped 3.
Okay.
So
Number 3 or 3 of the steps?
3 of the steps.
Oh, Jesus. Okay,
Guys,
go.
just bear
Just
with me.
fill in
here.
I'm
for 'em.
bearing with you. You
Yeah.
go. I'll fill in the
Step
blanks.
1,
Mhm.
capture.
Yes.
A feeling of anxiety, sometimes days before it actually happens.
Mhm.
But that's only sometimes.
That's called living in the modern world, baby.
Oh my lord. The shift in an altered state of consciousness / inability to move or calmness. Lights and mist appear. Sometimes these orbs,
Mhm.
as you have seen,
Yes.
turn into people or figures that people think are aliens.
Yo.
Step 2.
Well, wait, before you go.
Whoa.
So
Is
this
that-
is just some of the stuff I want to add.
Okay.
So we mentioned the lights, and then so sometimes the abductees are walked onto the craft that they are taken
yeah.
from.
For a minute I thought you meant like they get walked on by the alien.
No.
I was like,
No, sometimes they are accompanied just walking onto the craft. Sometimes they're levitated.
Mhm.
Some people are taken from their bedrooms, but most are taken from like an automobile on the
Mhm.
street in a rural area in the middle of the night.
That's what I want to do.
Close
Oh.
encounters, dude.
So
Yeah,
usually the driver will stop deliberately to investigate, which is what happens with the hills, which we'll talk about in a little bit, or the car stops due to apparent mechanical failure,
Mhm.
and that is some of what is included in
Mhm.
step 1 of capture.
Oh.
Thank you, Jasmine.
You are
Yeah.
welcome,
Thank you,
Stefan.
Jasmine. Wait, so what's step 2?
Examination.
Oh.
Proceed.
Proceed. So examination is kind of the typical thing that happens on an aircraft once you've been abducted by an alien. Medical examination, laying on a table, people poking you, aliens poking you.
Yeah.
They define it as invasive medical or scientific procedures performed by alien beings.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this previously, but you can kind of assume most of the procedures focus on the cranium, the nervous system, the skin,
They're into our systems, okay?
Yeah.
and the
Oh.
They want-
reproductive system.
They want
Yeah,
all
that's
of our
what I
body
got.
parts.
They get a little handsy.
They're like, you see that guy right there? We need to get into his system.
They there's a big elephant in the room with abductions, anal probing.
It's a big thing.
That's one of the biggest medical invasive procedures that they do for some
It's
reason.
true.
Arguably
They
the
do it
biggest,
to
yeah.
them.
It was
A lot.
excluded
Most
from
commonly
the
heard of.
research article I read.
Oh,
They,
really?
they were like, well, we gotta be taken seriously. But just to let everyone know that there's these big-headed weirdos flying around in dishes, abducting people and sticking things up their anuses.
Yeah, beware.
Look out, dear God.
Alex and Stefan, did you get this information, or is it just me and Eli who has
Well,
this?
yeah.
What is this again? Is this
So this is
the
called.
IKEA way of getting abducted?
This is
The steps.
this is basically a collection of a typical abduction. It's called the narrative of the abduction phenomenon. It comes from people looking at multiple stories and multiple cases
Okay.
and pooling the common things that have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of how we talked about the missing 411 cases. Here's what happens most of the
Okay,
time.
okay.
The typical abduction includes these things.
Okay.
It doesn't always include all of these things. Sometimes it includes additional things, but these are the common, average, most likely to happen things
Okay.
if you are abducted.
I don't think I got that list. I mean I definitely got a lot about what you guys are talking about
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
it. I got the list from the Center of UFO Studies.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And it's
Hey.
a different list that I think it's used to determine what has to be happen to be an
Yeah,
official
to be-
alien
yeah.
abductee.
Oh.
So if you guys want to finish this list, then maybe
Yeah,
me and
yeah,
Stefan
yeah,
can read
yeah.
over
Yeah.
that one. So
great.
this is how you do get abducted. This is what might happen.
Yes.
And then me and Stefan will talk about
What defines.
what
Yes.
defines if
Okay.
you were truly abducted.
Yeah.
So, to be clear to the listeners out there, because I have a feeling this is all going to be very difficult to follow. Step 1 of the
narrative.
abduction narrative is capture.
Mhm.
And that's the physical being captured into a UFO. Sometimes it's not physical. Sometimes.
Metaphysical.
Step 2 is the probing or the examination process.
Mhm.
Step 3 is
Conference,
conference.
which means talking.
Yeah, they get talked to.
There's a big boardroom of the aliens. They all look at them and they're like, "So talk about the last quarter, ups and downs," and you're just like,
Yeah, can you imagine? It's like one of those, like, they make you watch trailers and get your opinion.
So basically what happens here is after they've been all up in your business and been poking and prodding at you,
How do you
aliens
feel about that?
basically
It's a focus group.
Yeah, they
on a system of 1 to 5, how would you rate your service?
well, they ask about the aspects of human life that appear to puzzle them. So a lot of times the aliens are confused by lifespans, emotions, and the individuality of humans. This is also the point where if they're going to tell you why they abducted you, this is where they tell you.
Step 3.
And then usually a request or command from the abductors is given to the experiencer, also known as the abductee. So like they're given a quest, basically.
They get a little mission.
Basically.
Cool.
And then the last thing that usually happens in this conference is you're given a warning. Usually this is like the whole, we're aliens and we can see how damaging your human life is being to your own existence and your own planet. So you should stop doing this. And it usually involves things concerning weapons of mass destruction, pollution, environmental concerns, war, and things like that. And the entities often claim that they will attempt to help humanity recover in the aftermath of the prophesied calamity. So the aliens are the heroes.
Even though they're telling it to some
Yeah.
schmo off the street.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
They
it's a
abduct
Saw movie
farmers
on a
and-
grand scale.
Yeah, they abduct
exactly what
farmers
that
and
is.
people in like back roads and like, so listen, wars are coming. You guys gotta go to your president and tell him to stop doing. And just like, I am a Dust Bowl
Yeah.
farmer from Oklahoma.
What am I
Only-
supposed
I don't
to
even
do?
have a car. Please, I don't know what's happening.
Only you can prevent the end of the world.
Only you can prevent total and utter nuclear destruction.
So step 4 is
Tour.
yes.
They go on tour.
This I also have another personal story, but
Uh,
after you explain.
So
what
yeah,
it is.
this one's actually pretty self-explanatory. They get a tour of the ship most times. And
sometimes
then
of different galaxies.
yeah,
Ooh.
and then
And
a tour of
nebulas.
space.
Yep.
So
Get all the
My,
they
business
go on
out
a
of the
field
way.
trip.
Whoa.
My cousin, my cousin Freddie, she used to be Freddie. I don't know what they call her now, but apparently she was abducted by aliens. No one believes her, but she said she was abducted and that the aliens showed her the sun and that the sun does not burn.
Oh,
So, but
Fun fact.
how about that, huh? Well,
She, like-
good night.
says it very calmly though. She doesn't say it like crazy, so
Mm.
it's like weird. She's not like running from the hilltop screaming, "The sun doesn't burn!"
Doesn't burn.
It's just like a deep-rooted belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Reality's what you make it, baby.
Step 5.
So step 5 isn't really a step. It's kind of an overarching thing that happens through all of this, and that's the loss of time.
Mm.
So, abductees usually forget everything that has happened, and they are only able to recall through therapy and hypnosis and things like that. So that's not really a step, but that's one of the important things that kind of envelops
It's a side effect of
envelops
it.
this whole
Mhm.
thing. But the next technical step after tour is return. So this is when you return to Earth. Usually in a different location from where you were picked up,
Mhm.
or with
Dicks.
new.
They're just like, have fun in Florida.
Well,
It's like
I-
Jane John Malkovich where they dropped them on the Jersey Turnpike.
Yeah.
I read a story about a person who claimed to be abducted, and like they were double abducted because the aliens realized that they put them back in the wrong place.
Oh
So
my
then they
God.
picked them up again and then took them and put them back in the
Oh,
right
no.
place.
Oh
We
man.
put them in the wrong place, George.
No, I guess there's
They
some
forget to wipe
reports.
their mind the second time.
There's some reports of people being abducted and then returned back to their houses, but on the outside and all the doors are locked.
Yeah.
So like they can't get in.
Listen, aliens. I don't know how hard it is for you. I don't know if you guys don't have doors. I don't know if you understand what like personal security is. But like, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, we have people who go out into the natural world and they study animals and they're like, oh, you can pick up on the traits of an animal.
Yeah.
They build houses. This is the this and this. You watch humans for a day, you can be like, all right, they go in this house for like 17 hours and they go out somewhere else. They cry when they come back. They cry. So this is their safe house. And they just watch Netflix for 12 hours at a time. Maybe we
Save
should-
the OA.
Maybe we should put them back in this little house where they cry all the time. Like,
Hashtag the
Hashtag.
OA is real.
so that's what I'm saying, aliens. Like, it's not that hard to pick up.
Beam me into my house. That's all I
Yeah,
ask.
that's what I'm. It's not like, you know, you pick.
Make
you
me a
know.
key at least.
Listen, beggars can't be choosers, okay? If you're trying to get abducted, you can't be picky.
I'm not trying to get it. I'm just saying. It's one of those things where if you go through all the trouble of inventing space travel, and you're so interested in like what makes a human with like taking skin samples, fingernail samples, looking up the butt, whatever floats their boat. Like you gotta learn about like the social structure too of the human. Like.
Well,
So,
be sure
I'm
to
just
make
saying.
sure to make note of that and let them know when they show up.
Yeah,
in
when we get the conference, when I get to sit them down.
You're like, the tables are turning. I'm in charge now.
Yeah.
I had to give this place a 1 star because 0 wasn't an option.
Teach them
Wait,
social
So
cues.
what's step 7?
Well,
Rinse
in
and
addition,
repeat.
to the being returned to the place you weren't picked up from, oftentimes people are either wearing different clothes
Oh, yeah.
or have disheveled clothing,
Yeah.
and then they got weird marks or injuries on their bodies.
Oh, yeah.
They got the T-shirt. I was abducted, and all I got was this last T-shirt.
It's
So
all
the-
shredded.
It's one size too small.
And then after return, I don't know if I'll be pronouncing this right. I didn't actually look up how to pronounce it. It's theophany, theophany, I don't know.
Theophany.
It's the way that the
Yeah.
abductee feels. The abductee feels that they have had a profound mystical experience, also accompanied by a feeling of oneness with God or the universe. So basically, their mind is blown. They're like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" They're like that GIF with the guy whose like head is like
Oh,
he's
from
like leaning
scanners.
back or,
Oh, I
or
know.
whatever.
The scanners are
It just
explodes.
explodes. That'd be horrible.
So wait, what's step 8?
And then step 8 is aftermath. So the abductee must cope with the psychological, physical, and social effects of the experience.
Theophany.
Then they go into therapy
Yeah.
and
Wait,
hypnosis.
so where's the I have realization event as one of the steps?
Maybe we looked at different things,
I
or
don't know,
maybe
and
that
then
maybe
also, I have for step 3 as children,
what?
meaning
Oh, when they show up.
I
to
think-
show them the human alien hybrids.
You know what? I
They-
think they're. I think.
Just
I
different,
think
right?
you looked at something.
No.
It's Bronze
Listen,
Age
we are not
flashbacks.
doing that again. Listen, I also might have excluded some stuff. There also are 2 lists, but
There's the right one and the wrong one.
I'm right.
Simple
You're wrong.
fact.
But there are different collections of things. This is
Okay.
just one source. So
Okay.
there are other things that are involved. So what did I miss that you have?
Well, I have right after the examination. See, the placement of this one's weird because it usually happens as a second abduction,
Mm-hmm.
where the first time they have some reproductive things removed from them.
Yeah.
Also mentioned is the fact that aliens don't have genitalia
Yeah.
or no
Mhm.
visible genitalia, a la chupacabra.
Oh,
Ding ding.
we're calling you out.
But then the person is abducted again, sometimes shortly after, sometimes years after, and they are shown the offspring of their reproductive tissue combined with
Mhm.
that of
An alien.
alien.
And then they get the bill for the alimony.
You know why I left
Yeah.
this out? I left this out because you guys are
Send
planning
it
to
right
talk
back with
about
the bill.
that kind of thing in a separate episode, so I didn't bring
Yeah.
that up.
Well, I
But that's
just
true. That's all true.
yeah.
It's
And
true.
then-
It's all true.
It's all true.
But yeah, sometimes aliens get a little freaky nasty.
Freaking nasty.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
So will you guys please tell us what
Of
what is required of us in order to be abducted by an alien?
Yeah.
Am I credible?
What do we got to
find
do
out.
on the
I have a
app?
podcast.
Oh wow.
Jeez, I
Gee
have a podcast. I
willikers.
swear, it's real.
No,
What's
like
that
checking-
podcast about? It's about aliens.
It's about aliens. We talk around a campfire. So there's people who claim to be abducted by aliens.
Mhm.
So,
They go by either abductees or for some reason experiencers.
Experiences.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
Which is just like, I mean, we're all like experiencers, man, in like the grand scheme of
5
life.
syllables.
We're all experiencing this crazy world. But the CFUO, the Center for UFOs, definition of abductee, a person must be taken against his or her will
Well,
from terrestrial surroundings by non-human beings. So you got to meet that criteria for it to count as being taken.
that's funny that one of the requirements is that you have to go against your will.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm sure there's plenty of people in the world who are like, take me!
Yeah, they're just like, the aliens
They
show
just-
up. They're just like, yo, what's up? Like, I've been waiting, got my bags packed. Aliens like, whoa, this is like a one-time
Yeah, they just
thing.
bounce
We
out.
weren't planning on sharing the UFO with you. These beings must take the person to an enclosed place not terrestrial in appearance, and assumed or known to be the alien spacecraft by the witness.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta visually prove that there's a UFO out there and that you're being taken into it. You gotta have an establishing shot and then an interior shot for it to count, or you will be docked points by the Center of UFOs. And then in the place, the person must either be subjected to experimentation, engage in communication, verbal and or telepathic, or both. What the hell? And then the final one, all these experiences must be remembered consciously or through methods of forced coercion like hypnosis.
So, before you read that list, I thought you were going to give us a list of the kind of person you have to be in order to be abducted.
A clucker.
Like,
Yeah.
it sounds like what you just read is kind of a different version of what Eli and I shared.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably
Like,
the same.
to be technically considered an abduction.
Yeah,
You
you
have
gotta
to
fill
have-
out the paperwork
yeah.
just right.
Yeah.
What you talking about?
Submit in triplicates, wait 2 to 3 weeks to get approved, and then you get your badge that
like
says,
some-
I was abducted,
Yeah.
approved by J. Allen Hankins of the Center of UFO Technology.
J. Allen Hankins?
Verified.
Yeah.
A variation of J. Allen Hynek?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that guy. Forgot his name.
Fun fact about him, because I have no idea where to put this, except for maybe the Project Blue Book episodes, but I'm going to say it now.
Yeah.
I was watching the behind the scenes for Close Encounters of the Third Kind,
Uh-huh.
and J. Allen Hynek is actually in Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the very end
Really?
when the UFO shows up.
He's one of the guys, like, doing the test.
There's like a full-on close-up of him.
Oh.
He like walks up.
He
I
looks
was
at
like-
the camera, says, hi, I'm J. Allen Hynek.
Does
Yeah.
a little salute.
But apparently,
He whiffs and he needs.
when writing it, Spielberg used a lot of his research to try to make the UFO abductions seem authentic,
Oh,
which is pretty interesting.
yeah.
They had a consultant on the movie.
J. Allen Hynek.
Interesting.
I wonder if they got the mashed potato idea from him, too.
Yeah, I
This
doubt
would
that.
be fantastic.
But yeah, so already I can see we're having disparities between what an alien abduction encounter can mean, be processed, because if there's one thing I've learned looking at UFO stuff, it's all over the place with the facts.
It
Yeah.
definitely is.
It's very open.
Very open to interpretation, if
This
you
is
will.
definitely going to be the most difficult thing to research, I think. Out of everything that's possibly non-existing, I think UFOs are going to be the most difficult to try to find facts on.
Second only to Skyfish.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's abductions.
In a
And
nutshell, I
In a
guess you could
nutshell,
say.
yeah, that's the summarized version. But
You all have information
yeah, and
that
I
you
think
have chosen to withhold from me.
Yeah.
we
What do you
didn't-
mean by you
no.
all?
What?
Stefan, I think you want to tell us about this. This is Betty and Barney. Is that their names? Betty and
Oh,
Barney.
yeah.
Are you talking about the Flintstones?
Is it? Wait.
Yabba dabba doo.
Oh gosh, I am. No, it's Betty and
Barney and Betty.
It's-
Betty and Barney Rubble.
it's Betty and Barney Hill.
you gotta add the sound of their feet.
So
Fred, I'm being abducted.
Oh.
these people were not the first to be abducted or
No.
claim to have seen a UFO, but it
Mm-mm.
was the first widely publicized story in the U.S.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
There's
it's
been a
kind
couple of adaptations too.
Yeah, it's had a lot of influence on how we look at abductions today. So
Mhm.
Stefan, take it away.
Okay.
Take it away.
All right. So on September 19th, 1961, in New Hampshire, Barney and Betty Hill were headed home, and let's see, they were driving down, and Betty claims to have seen a bright point of light that moved below the moon toward the west of the moon, and it continued to grow. So Betty asked Barney to stop the car for a closer look. And then, so they stopped, checked it out. Betty claims to have seen an odd-shaped craft flashing multicolored lights across the face of the moon, and it changed direction without turning and descended towards the two of them. So that kind of spooked them, and they hopped in the car and drove away, kept going down the street, and the flying saucer kept getting closer
Yeah.
and lower. And then it forced them to, let's see. Okay, actually, Betty claims that it was around 60 feet long and that it appeared to be rotating. So they watched it fly around sporadically, and it kept getting lower and lower, and it caused them to stop.
Mhm.
And then Barney got out of the car with his pistol and his binoculars, and he hopped out, walked closer to it, put the binoculars on, and saw about like 8 to 11 humanoid figures looking
Staring out
at
the
him through
window,
the
right?
window. Yeah. And it doesn't say how they communicated. I'm assuming telepathically,
Mm-hmm.
but they told him to stay there and just to, like, keep looking,
Yeah.
which I thought was very creepy.
Yeah, isn't that? It's kind of
Yeah.
creepy.
Don't
the
look
things-
away.
Yeah.
You guys have anything to add so far? Did I skip anything?
Let me check my notes.
One of the reasons they also stopped.
This is a big story, so I feel like
it's a
we could
big
all
story.
contribute.
We'll kind of give you the rough
Yeah.
story of it, kind of go through it, start fleshing it out.
Mhm.
They also, reason they stopped the car was so they could let their dog Belzy out
Yeah, that's right.
to go to
Belzy.
the bathroom.
Little Belzy.
Yeah.
So I do have a fun fact about Barney. So when they saw this
His
strange,
middle name was Rubble.
when they saw this strange light in the sky, at first it looked like a falling star, but as you talked about, it got bigger and bigger and brighter with each mile. Now Barney was actually a World War II vet, and he was an avid plane watcher. So he assured Betty that it was just a satellite that probably had gone off course, but that was not the case.
Already Barney's with the cover up.
Yeah, so
He's in on it.
Oh, that's why they told him to keep looking. They're like, play the part.
So yeah, we're at the point where he's out of the car and looking
Yeah.
at the UFO, and the aliens are waving at him. So
Yeah.
what happens next?
Alex, you wanna
Let's
keep
see.
it going?
Yeah. So he gets out with his gun. We got his binocular. They say somehow he hears them say, "Don't move. Keep watching.
Don't shoot.
Yeah, don't shoot." And then he reports he gets interviewed by Nightcap. That he knew that somehow they just weren't human. He just knew it wasn't normal.
Who's Nightcap?
They are. I don't have the full. Do you know the full name for him? I just wrote
I'll probably
Nightcap.
pull it up.
I've
real
never
quick.
heard of these people.
Let's see.
It's like the National Investigation Captain America Pants Party.
Captain America Pants Party.
But he runs back to the car.
Oh yeah, I got it.
What is it?
It's the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena.
I was close.
Ooh.
Very close. Runs back to the car.
NCIS.
Runs back to the car. They're gonna capture us.
Yeah, he loses his mind.
Oh my
Red
god!
alert! Red alert, Betty. Get the gat. We gotta go.
Punch it.
And then what proceeds is a high-speed chase.
Yeah.
He's pushing their 1957 Chevy Bel Air to its max. He's swerving up and down. The camera's going by. He's hanging out the window, shooting at the UFO.
False.
Is that really?
False.
Explosions are going
All
off.
false.
Might as well add the
Aliens
blue
take out the
granada
death
in
ray.
there.
Yeah.
They
They're driving
at
a
one
blue
point,
Granada.
they run off the blue granada off the road. But no, there's a high-speed chase, and it just keeps following them. It's keeping up with them. And the next thing they know, they've traveled about 35 miles. And right before they realized where they were, they noticed that there was they heard beeps and like a sense of something being on the car from the UFO. They start to kind of dim a little bit. Their memory kind of they get out of it. Next thing you know, they've traveled about 35 miles and they don't remember anything except for maybe bits and pieces of the road. And by this point, I think they're a mile away from Indian Head, the area, I believe. Or that might be somewhere else, but they're 35 miles have gone by. And then there's a roadblock. I think the UFO sets up a roadblock for them.
I didn't read this.
Because then they kind of pull off to the side, and there's a fiery orb in the middle
Yeah.
What?
of
I missed that part.
of the road. And then I think that's kind of where it fades to black. I
Yeah.
think because then up at that point, the next thing you know, it's dawn, and they're at their house.
Yeah, they like pull up to their house.
Yeah, they got home, which is in Portsmouth, feeling dirty. They had scuffed shoes, ripped clothing, broken watches, and 2 hours of missing time.
Yeah.
Their watches won't work. They had missing time. Betty takes her dress off, and I think there's like a pink powder on it that kind of floats off, and she notices that like the dress, like I think is like deteriorated away where that powder was.
Interesting.
And she goes to throw away the dress, and then she thinks better of it, and she takes it back out, and then I think she puts it away, and then I want to say that I think they send it away for research or something.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Stefan has something on that.
I didn't write it down, but
Oh.
I forget who it was. I think I have it over here, but she sent it in, and I forget who the name of the person that like tested it, and they said it had like crazy damage by UV rays, like insane degradation.
Really?
Yeah.
And this is a big point in every article I read about the hills. George promptly goes into the bathroom and proceeds to check out his genitalia for a while for no reason that he's aware
Yeah.
of.
Who's George?
Wait,
Not-
Barney.
yeah, Barney.
Oh, yeah,
George
George. Barney and Betty
Yeah.
get home, and for
Barney.
some reason George.
Yeah, he's like he keeps
is in
being
the bathroom.
he keeps feeling compelled to go look at his genitalia.
like,
Talking
thought-
about the Jetsons?
Yeah, maybe George Jetson's there, and
That's so funny.
Barney and Betty, Rubble's house. But Barney and Betty. Yeah, now I'm all confused. But Barney, he goes to the bathroom, checks his genitalia for a while. He's not sure why, but he just feels the sense that something's off.
You just can't get clean.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
And then I think what proceeds to happen is Betty starts to have a week full of very strange, like, remembering dreams that are very vivid and realistic. And I don't have them all listed out. I don't know if Jasmine or Stefan, if you guys have the like what the dreams consist of.
No, I don't. I just have the information that says, so in the coming months and years, Betty suffered from disturbing dreams, and Barney actually developed an ulcer and anxiety, so they sought mental help, and they met with a psychiatrist named Benjamin Simon, and...
That's so weird.
Why?
One of my best friends from, I think, 3rd or 4th grade was named Benjamin Simon.
He's also a neurologist.
Is this the guy?
Who specialized...
School with him?
He specialized in
You're
hypnosis.
65-year-old man this whole time?
So, through months of weekly sessions, Simon helped Betty and Barney kind of piece together what they think happened using information pulled from the dreams and memories that may have been suppressed. And this is where we kind of get the story of what actually happened when they were abducted and when they were on board. Apparently, a vessel had landed on the Hills car, which put them to sleep. And then, so this is after they got out and Barney saw the UFO and they ran back to the car and they were trying to drive away. The vessel landed on the car, putting them to sleep. They had lost consciousness. And then they were walked onto the craft. And then when they got inside, they were separated. And they had to take turns being examined.
I think they even say, she asked, why do we have to be separated? And they said it will make the examination too hard to do two at the same time.
It would just take a long time.
Yeah, like it's like a weird. They're like, it's gonna take too long. Like we're trying to get you in and out.
Yeah.
30-minute service. You know.
That's essentially what her dreams were, is what I read. But she doesn't describe them as aliens. She describes them as like men, like surrounding their car and like forcing them to walk up the craft.
Just wearing like black outfits with like like shiny black outfits and like caps on, but
And
they
then
don't,
taking
they don't
them in
say
to
anything
examine.
about them being like aliens.
No.
Weird.
So when they were examined, they took strands of hair, clippings of the nails, scraped their skin. There were needles involved, probing involved, all that stuff. There was a pregnancy test kind of that happened at one point. They
Checking all the boxes.
They stuck a large needle into Betty's belly, which was extremely painful, according to her.
But then the alien waved his hand over her head and the pain went away.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Believe it.
They went like this and just like nothing but dopamine just got shot into her.
Oh, man.
There was something funny, though, that happened during all of this is, according to Betty, at one point, a bunch of the beings ran into the room really excited because they realized Barney's teeth were removable because he had dentures. And so they were laughing at this, and they were so intrigued, and Betty had to explain that they're dentures, which was a fact of human aging that the aliens apparently had a hard time comprehending and understanding.
So you're telling me these creatures from millions of years, light years away, space travel, they can do whatever they want. But the idea of
That's
like
what gets
losing
them?
teeth and
That's the
having
one?
prosthetics is just like the wildest idea.
Yeah,
to
their
them.
favorite thing is one of those teeth clamper things
Yeah,
on the
they're just
table.
like, oh my god, look what the humans
They wind
can
it up,
do.
they just go insane.
And then,
They think they're pets and they just start adopting them.
so during Betty's conference segment of her abduction, she asked where they had flown to, saying that she knew little of the universe, and the being who was speaking with her, and they don't clarify if this was like speaking in English or if this was some kind of telepathic thing, but they communicated, and the being joked with her, saying, if you don't know where you are, there wouldn't be any point in telling you where I am. And so later, under hypnosis...
Yeah, small head.
And so under
Bars,
hypnosis,
dude.
she was able to draw a star map that she had
Yeah.
been shown while she was on the craft.
Man, these aliens are savage.
I know.
Now-
They're just like, man, this guy's teeth come out, and why we're gonna tell you where you at if you don't understand?
Weird.
What is that?
What?
Is that the
It's
star
the
map?
because Eli didn't look at it yet. But that's
Whoa.
the drawing compared to like a real map.
It's an octopus.
So the article I read for this whole story focused a lot on Betty.
Mhm.
So do you have any more information on what happened to Barney while he was on the vessel?
More or less
No.
the same. They poked at him, took some fingernail scrapings. He actually says they did do an anal probe on him,
Oh.
and then at
Poor
one
guy.
point, he says they put like a cup over his genitalia, and he's like pretty sure they took some of my fluid,
Oh.
but it wasn't like in like a weird biological way. It just like it sucked onto him.
It's purely biological.
Pure biological. Didn't feel nothing. But I think that's why he's like was so weird when he got home. Because technically, Betty
yeah,
looks like
I mean that makes sense.
Betty would like had the time with the people roasting like her knowledge of the galaxy, and poor Barney's like in the room being basically molested in every way, shape, and form.
Oh, no.
Poor guy.
Like so he had it rough. Like they talked about during the
Oh.
hypnosis, like he just would like break down,
That
recounting everything, and I'm just like poor Barney.
That
Like
makes me so sad.
he got it rough, man.
Yeah.
He got the short end
Poor
of the
guy.
deal.
And he
Yeah.
died not that long after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
true. He
so
died of a
sad.
cerebral hemorrhage in 1969.
Cerebral.
But before that happened,
It got into
their
his
story
system.
was picked up in 1965 by a Boston newspaper, and then that led to them writing a book, which was The Interrupted Journey in 1966, and they collaborated with author John G. Fuller, and then that book inspired movies.
Yeah. Do you have the name of the movie?
There's
Mothman
a
Prop.
The UFO something.
Yeah.
there's a Spielberg one too, isn't there? Or no? No.
I think he only made one alien movie. No, two.
Yeah,
if you
what?
count Crystal Skull.
I didn't
What about
write it
E.T.?
down.
Oh yeah. What about E.T.?
Oh yeah, E.T.
I thought that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Crystal Skull is where you went.
Yeah, Crystal Skull.
That's where
That's
you
all I
went.
remember, dude.
But they made a movie based off it.
What-
I think Steph can get the title, but
Yeah,
it
I'll
had
go real quick.
Sir James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
In
Sir
it.
James.
Yeah.
Sir James.
Yeah. If he hasn't been knighted, then I'm just gonna say, you know what, he's earned it.
He's right.
Yeah.
I don't think you get to decide that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called the UFO incident.
Yeah. UFO incident.
Do we have that one?
No.
Like, do we
We
own
have
it?
UFO abduction.
Oh, we have UFO. They all
You-
sound
The one she watched when she was a kid had James Earl Jones in
Um,
it. This mockumentary movie.
so
That's where their budget went.
It all went to James.
Barney
Sir.
died in 1969.
Oh.
Betty, however, she kind of became like a sage of paranormal experiences.
Mhm.
Like she was kind of like famous in the
Little
community.
celebrity.
She passed away in 2004 from lung cancer,
She was
unfortunately.
82, I think.
I didn't do the math. but-
Yeah.
But what's interesting, so there's like I have like this whole section in my notes about like if they were crazy and how debate continues as to whether or not they were liars or fantasists or just sleep deprived or whatever, and maybe we'll get into a little bit of that. But what's important to note about these two people is they were considered like normal. They were credible people.
They went to
Let me
church.
yeah,
they were,
let me
like,
scroll
well
back
known
a
in
little
their
bit.
Small town, like everyone knew him was just like too well put together.
Yeah, so Barney worked at the post office and Betty handled state child welfare cases. They spent their free time at church and participated in activities related to the civil rights movement. They had been married for 16 months. and they decided to go on a delayed honeymoon through Montreal and Niagara Falls. So that's why they were traveling.
That's why they're coming back from Niagara Falls.
That sucks.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know where we are on time-wise for this episode, but I have a whole bunch of stuff about like how psychology works and repressed memories and leading questions.
Let's
and
get into
hypnosis.
it.
Yeah. Alex,
Wait,
she was
go for it.
85.
85.
Yeah.
Dang.
Rest
Can I
in
say-
power.
No, go ahead. I'll
No,
bring it up.
say what you wanna
I'll
say.
bring it up later.
Say
okay?
what you want to say, Eli.
Okay, fine.
Okay, cool.
In the year 1625, the Bronze Age.
Alright.
Oh no!
Please, God, no.
Guys, if you don't know what these Bronze Age jokes are that we keep dropping, you gotta go back to our first tome.
Yeah, do your homework.
Do your homework. Like, I obviously did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Anyways, this is specifically in reference to hypnosis, regression,
Mhm.
bringing up those memories.
That's great, because that's what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, that's why I want to bring it up. But because I know what some of you may be thinking.
Did I leave the oven
That's
on?
fake. Yeah, and did I leave the oven on?
Oh yeah. But yes, what you're saying,
But-
is it fake?
Is it fake? Is it real? Let's find out. So people say that it's too suggestive of a thing because first of all, you have to confide in somebody and say that you think you've been abducted. Then that person has to believe you enough to recommend you to someone, or if they are that someone who is the hypnotizer, they have to believe, at least believe that you believe you've been abducted.
Mm-hmm.
And then already you're going into this hypnosis regression to specifically remember a point in time that you think you've been abducted.
Mm-hmm.
So that already is like very suggestive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I don't know, there's a lot of things that can be said here, but your mind is very suggestible.
It's the whole, you're like, all right, I'm going to go under to talk about my alien experience. So then they say, all right, look at the gold watch. All right, 1, 2, 3. So on the date of so-and-so and so-and-so, what did the UFO look like that
Yeah.
you climbed
Yeah,
into?
exactly.
It's very
I think it was
leading.
orange.
Yeah.
Right.
And what did the aliens who took you and probed you look like? I think they were like little gray people that had feelers on their heads.
Feeling.
And what was the time? It was 11:32, I think. Are you sure? Yes. All right, everyone. He was abducted. He saw some aliens.
That's
They
it.
touched him.
Completely
Next
credible.
one.
Right. But I have Harvard psychiatrist John Mack,
Boom, yeah.
who also wrote the book Abduction,
Okay.
and there's also a subtitle which I failed to write down.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Abduction.
says that-
Stories for you.
he says that some people begin remembering things after the relaxation phase. So obviously you're relaxing your body in order for your mind to be able to traverse to this state, you know,
Mhm.
almost like a sleep paralysis type deal here. So, but like the fact that some people are remembering things when their body is relaxed
Mhm.
is very strange because they're not even really hypnotized at that point. They're just
They're
reliving.
chilling.
They're chilling, and is the dopamine going into the brain?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. What's that stuff that you eat turkey and it makes you fall asleep?
Melanin,
Triphenolol or
trimethyltryptamine.
yeah.
Mel-
Well, whatever.
Melatonin.
They
I think melatonin,
they
right?
give them a big turkey sandwich and they get all tired and the dopamine starts flaring up and they're like, I'm relaxed, and I'm just like,
Mm.
oh, remember that one time I saw that alien?
Yeah.
It abducted me?
Yo.
What a weird time.
So
That's
what
wild.
are you saying about hypnotism?
Well, first of all, a lot of like believers and abductees say that it's so unlikely and doesn't make sense that hundreds of people, would independently generate such similar narratives. Like
Mhm.
they would all have the same stories,
Mhm.
Right.
but have no knowledge of each other's claims. But experts have tried to explain why intelligent people who are sane and otherwise mentally stable and credible come forward with these experiences. A lot of psychologists say that sleep paralysis and hallucinations play a role, as well as leading questions like Alex was making reference to earlier. So leading questions during hypnosis could also be a factor. And then one of the strongest predictors of false recall is just a vivid imagination.
Mhm.
Which is exactly why I don't believe I've been abducted by aliens.
Okay.
Oh, but it's a good party start.
It is a good party story.
Who was
Because
the-
that did happen
Icebreaker.
to me. But I don't think I have no memories of being abducted.
Yeah.
So
Let's put you under hypnosis.
Yeah, let's do it.
no,
So it's bringing
I'm
up.
scared. What if
So
I
it's bringing
did?
up traumatic stories from high school instead.
Yeah. Why'd you unlock it? Why'd you make me remember it? Oh God.
What was
Like
the
Danny DeVito. Always sunny.
What was the name of the psychologist you mentioned a little bit ago?
John Mack.
John Mack.
Okay, I
John
have another
McLemore.
Harvard
John
psychologist
McLemore.
Really?
named Richard McNally, and he has a quote. I have a quote from him here. It says, "The alien abduction phenomenon, in my opinion, shows how sincere, non-psychotic individuals can develop beliefs about and false memories of incredible experiences that never happened." There's an interesting point for the Hills as well. So many point to their possible hallucination, false recall, imagination, blah, 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 being a point of stress because they were an interracial couple living in a predominantly white state in a turbulent area. So the year of their hypnosis, 1964, was marked by the Cold War tensions, civil rights unrest with numerous riots happening. A professor of sociology at California's Chapman University named Christopher Bader, he has another quote here that says, "So you have a biracial couple at a time where obviously it was not easy to be a biracial couple. Look at what those aliens were, a mixture of black and white," and I find that very meaningful. So he gets real deep with it, talking about interracial couple, seeing gray aliens, having this stressful experience. But also back to the hypnosis thing, abductee stories depend on first-hand accounts. And it's always interesting when you talk about, like, even if we're not talking about aliens, if we're talking about, like, crime and witnesses to crimes, like, first-hand, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's witness, but I've already said that 3 times.
Like an account?
Yeah, like an eyewitness account is actually very uncredible because our mind tricks us. I watched an episode of Criminal Minds, I think it was, where they have an instance where there's like a shooter in some building and everybody says different things. Oh, it came from over here and I saw the shooter and they looked like this, and so
Big old game of telephone.
yeah. So first-hand accounts are the most vulnerable form of evidence. Memories can be distorted by stress or distraction, or even manufactured. So when a false memory is in place, psychologists say that the brain works to fill in the details. So yeah, and it also, our brain likes to fill in the blanks and make patterns of things that might not actually be there, such as when we like see faces in the clouds or assume that one event caused another. So there's a lot of like science and psychology going into the human anatomy and brain.
How much does a brain weigh? Like 3-4 pounds, I think.
I have no idea.
Beats me.
You know, a brain. You can hold your brain in your hand. Basically, it's a small little thing.
Is it the size of your hand?
I mean, because it's got to fit in your skull. You know, like. I think you can hold it in your hand, but.
They're all Googling it right now.
Yeah, the brain is an insane.
Yeah, it says 2% of your body weight.
Yeah, 3 pounds.
Yeah. So the brain, small little thing, but it's one of those things to where it's capable of so much in terms of like trying to make sense of things because the world's crazy, the universe is crazy, nature's insane.
It's too much for my tiny little 3-pound brain to understand.
Too much for my
people
little
go into
monkey
shock.
brain. My monkey brain's freaking out. Like it can barely comprehend the big obelisk the monolith that just showed up outside.
The monolith.
But it's one of those things to where reality is what you make it. Sometimes something happens, your brain is just like, I don't know how to handle this information, so I'm just going to do this to just try to make sense of it. And then you're just like, I think I remember this happening. Your brain's like, yeah, it did happen, because the truth is, this is what happened, but I need you to keep going because you will shut down at the horrors of what's happening. So this is what's happening now, and then it just starts replugging things and you try to remember things from a few years ago, and you're like, man, I remember... just a simple, like, party story, and you meet your friends again, they're like, that didn't happen. You're like, what? You're like, no, this happened. It's
Sometimes
insane.
they got video proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perception is horrifyingly frail.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
I experienced the
Scary
opposite a
thing to
lot.
think
I went home in July back to Ohio to visit my family and friends. And I was sitting with 2 of my high school friends, and they were talking about, do you remember the time that blah, 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 blah? And I'm like, no. I have no memory of this. You're telling me I did that? You're telling me I said this? I do not remember that.
And then, so you have, Barney and Betty Hill. They may or may not have been abducted by aliens, but, they're people that, the town knows. They seem nice. They go to church. They say, hey, I got abducted by aliens, and everyone comes out of the woodwork to say they're crazy. They're making it up. It's for attention.
Yeah.
But Quentin Tarantino gets an 8.6 out of 10 when his self-insert beats up Bruce Lee.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it's pretty wild. The psychology of abductions, is it practical? Maybe not, because the brain is just too complex. You can't. It's hard too, because everyone's brains works in a different way.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, well, hypnosis is just throwing a ball in the dark of just like, and what worked for the last person could not work because everyone's situations are different for how their brain works and thinks of things. So I don't really know, other than just it's wild to try to put this stuff in a box because the brain is
But you want to know
so complex. And
what's not hypnosis?
Huh.
Another way of identifying that you may have been abducted.
You got a tramp stamp.
No. There was a doctor. His name was Dr. Roger Lear.
Oh.
But it's spelled Leir.
Liar.
So
He's the false king.
Dr. Roger Lear appears in the documentary The Watchers, which has now become a documentary series in which Jose Escamilla actually shows up.
Oh, hey.
In the latest one. And they're led by this guy named L.A. Marzulli, big creationist, UFO, trying to fit the UFO phenomenon into like
Theology?
the creation narrative.
Okay.
Which is already a whole thing in and of itself. But they do a really good job because Roger Lear shows up in several of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a good job of showing what exactly he does from a pretty unbiased standpoint. This guy, let's see, I have his thing. Where's
You
it
got
at?
his Instagram handle there?
Yeah. Dr. DJ Tasty McNugs right at you.
He passed away a few years ago, though, but he basically specialized in removing alien implants.
Okay.
From
Okay.
people.
Okay.
So he was already a surgeon. Somebody came to him and said, hey, I think I got abducted by aliens, and I think I have an implant somewhere here. And he took a look at it, and sure enough, he found something there.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting about these things, and he's got 3 books. He's got The Aliens and the Scalpel from 1999. That was his first one, which talks about his first incident that I just kind of briefly summarized. And then in 2000, he came out with another one called Casebook Alien Implants. And in 2005, he had his last book, UFO Crash in Brazil, which he supposedly went to Brazil and investigated a UFO crash down there.
Whoa.
Yeah, and there's like photo evidence and stuff, but I didn't go too deep in that because that's not what we're talking about.
He rolled up with the boys from Brazil.
Yeah, but I don't know. Interesting. But here's the thing. These things are like... He's obviously using like stainless steel tweezers to remove these implants. But there's a magnetic push against the stainless steel tweezers. It literally moves away from the tweezers. They have video footage of it happening live. Like these
Whoa.
implants moving through this person's body.
Yeah.
And eventually they get them out. I don't know how.
They corner it.
They have
Basically.
They got wood tools.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
use chopsticks.
But it's weird because these things are made out of carbon nanotubes.
Yeah, which aren't magnetic, right?
Nope.
Magnetic?
Weird.
Not at all. But there's also a membrane surrounding them,
Yeah.
which allows it to, because when
Just
you
hang in the body, right?
to hang in the body, because obviously when you have something in your body's initial reaction is to fight it.
Yeah.
That's why like you get a splinter and it comes out on its own if you leave it there long
There's
enough.
people who've been in car crashes. They get glass
Yeah.
embedded in their arm, and then within sometimes years, decades,
Yeah.
just little bits of glass just starts coming through the skin as it keeps
Really?
shedding
Yeah.
and pushing that stuff out because it's not organic.
Yeah.
So you put a membrane over it, and the
So-
body's like, oh, it's a piece of body. Like,
Yeah.
all right,
it just
cool.
accepts it. There's like no swelling or anything there.
Mm.
And then so carbon nanotubes are already pretty difficult to make. we're like struggling to make them, and they're actually the Boeing company, Boeing 747s.
Mm-hmm.
They have a patent for the use of carbon nanotubes to monitor structural health of airplanes.
Yeah.
To make sure they don't like fall apart while they're flying, which is
big deal.
crazy. But like they're there in these people's bodies. These people who say they've been abducted say they have an implant, and sure enough there's an implant of some sort in there.
What if it's Boeing?
Dude,
What if it's a marketing campaign? They're just like,
I don't know.
you could get abducted and get free lifetime Boeing tickets for a year if you keep the implant in.
Lifetime Boeing tickets for a year.
Yeah. It's misleading, and you gotta read the fine print.
Yeah.
And it's like, may cause cancer.
I just went onto YouTube as you were talking about this because I wanted to see if I could find the video that you were talking about.
Yeah, it's on
And
there.
so I typed in removing alien implant, and the first videos that pop up are all ASMR.
Ew.
There's
There's
a Lupe Fiasco video.
ASMR, alien implant removal, soft-spoken massage. ASMR, alien abduction, surgical removal of the alien implant. ASMR, alien implant removal. Alien microbe removal.
Niche audience
ASMR.
for that stuff, I guess.
I mean,
I'm like, what?
How many views?
I don't know.
Holy moly.
How many?
79,000 views.
Oh, good
For
lord.
For
which one?
soft-spoken ASMR massage.
Yeah, there's
part
an audience
two,
for that, dude.
121K views.
Whoa.
ASMR alien implant removal, 196K views. Holy moly! I wonder if this guy's got his things monetized because he's making bank.
I don't know.
Maybe we should just get into the ASMR business and just be
Yeah.
like, hey guys, and then the Bigfoot was like hanging out. Just wow. Well, I mean.
I have a little bit more to say on that. Also, you can find the video by typing in L.A. Marzulli, The Watchers. Most of them are on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime,
yes,
they're there.
yes.
But the first one isn't. But Roger Lear appears in like the first 5, I think.
Okay.
So
Did you want to spell the Marzulli?
Yeah, Marzulli. So it's L.A. like L.A. and then Marzulli is Marzulli. Marzulli.
I would have typed 2 O's.
Yeah.
Marzulli. Yeah, I don't know.
Marzulli.
But there's a little weird thing with Roger Lear, and that's Joe Nickel, investigator, which he got a very negative reception in when we talked about, I think, Champ.
Okay.
In that one Instagram post, people got very mad that I mentioned Joe Nickel.
Oh, yeah,
Because he kind of debunks things.
Mm.
But he also brings a
Nickel
valid
and dimed
point.
him.
Yeah, I guess. But he found out about Roger Lear's works, and they keep at the time they kept the implants. And so he wanted to send in a couple of specimens or even just photos to get studied by a forensics institute.
Yeah.
And they said no. So like they just kept him in Roger Lear's office, just never to be studied, and I don't know what has happened to him since he's passed, so
They probably got like thrown in the trash by the cleaning lady.
probably. So
What's all this crap in this jar?
we'll probably never really know much more than what I have explained.
Great.
Well, what do you guys think about alien abductions in general? Do we have any other info? You want to start wrapping this up?
No.
No? We keep going
This
throughout
is
the
the
night.
podcast that lasts 1,000 generations.
Ah!
No, I think I got to cover everything in my notes that I wanted to talk
Yeah.
about.
Same.
Yeah, I think so. We talked about the hills, talked about hypnosis, talked about implants,
Talked about some probing.
some probing,
I
the
feel so
the
bad for
paperwork you need to fill out to be approved for your abductee insurance,
Yeah.
signed in triplicate, sent in. I think that's pretty good, yeah, for kind of dipping our toe into the alien world as we travel through this UFO, through space-time, and everything in between.
Yeah. Hopefully we didn't lose you all.
Yeah, hopefully you guys are still having fun. You can get tossed out of the asteroid field.
Despiértate.
Yep. Imagine how we feel.
Yeah.
We've been on this thing for 3 weeks now.
I've been sitting here on this
Let
UFO
us
for
out.
3 weeks being like, did I leave the oven on?
Stefan didn't bring enough coffee.
I have
No.
not taken a shower since we started Bigfoot Mountain. And now I'm stuck on a
Yeah, I didn't-
UFO.
And they do not have ventilation in here.
They don't believe in hygiene.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. This was our first episode of Alien Airlines.
Oh, yeah.
Me and
Big
Stefan
deal.
will start our rotation starting the next episode.
They'll
so
start
him and
dragging
I will
you
be
guys into different rooms for
Yeah.
different medical procedures.
him and I will
get
be
your checkups.
him and I will be switching off, and I think there's a couple episodes that we might all four of us be back
Mhm.
again. But
Like when we watched the movie, I think, right?
yeah.
Spoiler.
We're gonna do some more movie reviews. Well, not movie reviews really. We're gonna talk about pop culture in general. I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a big aspect of the 21st century is UFOs and popular
Yeah.
culture.
And we have great stories to tell about the movie when Stefan ordered it on eBay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Which you can watch in the vlog.
Yeah, it
so
is
if you
in the vlog,
haven't
actually.
watched it, watch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, what are you doing? Check out our vlog.
What are you doing? Were you listening to this podcast?
Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's a lot of different platforms that we're on, so like if people are listening to just the podcast, they
Mhm.
might not know about all of the YouTube content that we have
Yeah.
right now.
We got
So-
that them there YouTube, Cryptid Campfire. We
Mhm.
got the Instagram. We got put up little clips of vlogs, Cryptid Facts. We got the Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That recycles everything from the Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think we'll start doing the sign offs.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll switch it up a little bit. It's Tome 3.
Tome
Mr.
3.
New Guy, where could I find you if I wanted to know more about you?
I'm on Instagram at Myers Stefan. That's MYERSSTEFFEN.
What about you, fella?
You can find me on Instagram at the Eli Watson. But the best place to probably find me is at Cryptid Campfire on Instagram. I run the page. If you DM the page, you're DMing me.
Yeah.
So just know.
That he
Just
does
know
not
that.
approve of Fortnite scores.
Yup.
And
Don't send them.
what about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. My name is the same on both. It's just Jasmine Maywith, JasmineMaewith.
And I'm Alex Daikaiju. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Alex Daikaiju. Alex DAIKAIJU. I also run the Twitter. So if you are retweeting or asking a question at the Twitter, it's mostly me replying. Jasmine sometimes kicks in and helps.
Well, that's it for this week, fellers.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Oh.
Whoa.
So definitely come back next week. But
Bring-
definitely come back 2 weeks from now.
Bring some firewood if you can find
Yeah,
some.
maybe some coffee.
We took the burning parts of the UFO.
Yeah, we've been burning the tubing, and it's made out of plastic, so it's very toxic. We'll see y'all next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.